Welcome back to Global Monetary Watch. Today is July 25, and we're taking a closer look at one of the latest developments surrounding Iraq's financial system and the Iraqi dinar. Over the past several days, a number of official actions and policy updates have drawn the attention of economists, market observers, and people who closely follow Iraq's monetary reforms. While headlines across the internet often jump to dramatic conclusions, today's discussion focuses on documented developments and the broader economic context behind them. By examining the facts carefully, we can better understand why these recent events are attracting interest without relying on speculation or unsupported claims. One of the first things worth noting is that Iraq's official exchange rate has remained stable despite ongoing economic changes. The Central Bank of Iraq has continued to maintain its established exchange rate through active monetary management, rather than allowing significant fluctuations. Stable exchange rates do not happen by chance. They require continuous oversight of foreign currency reserves, liquidity levels, banking operations, and demand for foreign exchange. Maintaining this balance is one of the primary responsibilities of a central bank, and Iraq's monetary authorities have consistently demonstrated their intention to preserve stability while broader financial reforms continue to unfold. Another important aspect receiving attention is the central bank's ongoing effort to modernize Iraq's banking environment. Instead of making sudden or highly publicized announcements, officials have gradually introduced measures designed to strengthen the country's financial infrastructure. These changes include improving oversight of banking transactions, tightening compliance procedures, and encouraging greater use of regulated financial institutions. Such reforms are commonly viewed as part of long-term institutional development. Around the world, countries seeking stronger financial systems often begin by improving transparency, strengthening regulations, and reducing opportunities for unofficial financial activity before implementing broader economic initiatives. One area where these reforms have become particularly noticeable involves Iraq's foreign currency operations. Authorities have continued refining the procedures governing access to U.S. dollars through the banking system. Financial institutions are now expected to meet stricter compliance requirements before participating in currency transactions, while oversight has increased across licensed exchange companies. These adjustments are intended to improve transparency and reduce financial risks within the system. International financial organizations have frequently encouraged countries to strengthen anti-money laundering measures and improve regulatory compliance, making these developments consistent with broader global banking standards rather than isolated policy decisions. At the same time, Iraq has continued building and maintaining substantial foreign currency reserves. These reserves represent an important financial resource because they help support economic stability during periods of uncertainty. A strong reserve position allows a central bank to manage exchange rate pressures, maintain confidence in the financial system, and respond more effectively to changing economic conditions. Public reports over recent months have indicated that Iraq's reserves remain relatively strong compared with previous years. While reserve growth alone does not determine future currency policy, it does provide policymakers with greater flexibility when managing the country's monetary framework and responding to economic developments. The country's economy also continues to rely heavily on oil exports, making energy markets a central factor in Iraq's financial outlook. Oil revenue provides the majority of government income, funding public services, infrastructure projects, and many areas of national spending. Although production limits agreed upon through international energy arrangements have affected export volumes at times, periods of stronger oil prices have helped offset some of those constraints. As a result, Iraq has generally maintained healthier government revenues than during previous periods of lower energy prices. This stronger fiscal position creates additional room for policymakers to continue implementing economic reforms while supporting government operations. Government budgeting also plays an essential role in understanding Iraq's current financial position. Each national budget is prepared using assumptions about future oil prices and expected government income. When actual revenues meet or exceed those assumptions, additional financial resources become available for investment, debt management, public development, and institutional improvements. This is a normal feature of resource-based economies and does not automatically signal changes in currency policy. Instead, it reflects the relationship between commodity revenues and government finances. Analysts therefore pay close attention to Iraq's fiscal performance because it provides valuable insight in the country's overall economic health and long-term financial capacity. Political stability has also become an important factor in evaluating Iraq's recent progress. While Iraq continues to face political challenges, the current government has maintained momentum on several economic initiatives, despite ongoing disagreements among various political groups. Reforms aimed at modernizing the banking sector, improving governance, strengthening anti-corruption measures, and implementing recommendations from previous economic planning documents have continued moving forward. Although these efforts require time and cooperation across multiple institutions, continued progress demonstrates an ongoing commitment to improving the country's financial framework. Institutional reforms rarely produce immediate results, but they often establish the foundation needed for sustainable economic development over the long term. One of the broader themes emerging from these developments is that Iraq appears focused on strengthening the structure of its financial system rather than pursuing quick or highly publicized changes. Stable exchange rate management, stronger banking regulations, improved compliance standards, healthy foreign currency reserves, and continued fiscal support from oil revenues all contribute to a picture of gradual institutional development. These are measurable developments supported by official policies and public economic reporting. At the same time, it is important to distinguish documented reforms from speculation circulating online. Responsible analysis focuses on verified information while recognizing that sovereign monetary policy evolves over periods rather than through sudden announcements. Beyond Iraq's domestic reforms, another significant element of the country's economic story is the continued involvement of major international financial organizations. Institutions such as the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank have maintained active engagement with Iraq as it works to strengthen its economy and modernize its financial sector. Their role includes providing technical expertise, policy recommendations, and ongoing consultations rather than directing Iraq's decisions. This continued cooperation is often viewed as an indication that Iraq remains committed to implementing INTER's financial practices while addressing long-standing structural challenges within its banking and monetary systems. One area that has received considerable attention during these consultations is the difference between Iraq's official exchange rate and the rates seen in parts of the parallel market. Reducing this gap has been a stated objective of financial authorities because multiple exchange rates can create inefficiencies, encourage unofficial transactions, and complicate economic planning. Bringing these rates closer together is generally associated with greater transparency and stronger monetary stability. Although this process can take time, narrowing the difference between official and market rates represents an important step toward improving confidence in the country's financial framework and supporting more predictable economic activity. The modernization of Iraq's banking system extends well beyond exchange rate discussions. Financial institutions across the country have continued adopting updated compliance procedures, digital payment technologies, and stronger reporting standards. These improvements are designed to make banking services more secure, efficient, and compatible with international financial systems. Modern banking infrastructure also helps facilitate trade, supports investment, and strengthens oversight of financial transactions. As these changes continue to expand, they contribute to a broader transformation that reaches far beyond the value of the national currency itself. Economic reform in Iraq is also closely connected to broader government initiatives aimed at improving transparency and administrative efficiency. Authorities have continued introducing measures intended to strengthen public institutions, reduce corruption risks, and improve accountability throughout various sectors of government. While reforms of this scale rarely produce immediate results, consistent progress over time can create a stronger environment for sustainable economic growth. Many analysts view institutional improvements as essential because long-term economic stability depends not only on monetary policy but also on effective governance and reliable public administration. Another important factor supporting Iraq's current economic position is its relatively healthy fiscal outlook compared with several previous years. Government revenues have benefited from energy exports, allowing officials greater flexibility when planning public expenditures and development projects. Fiscal strength can support investments in infrastructure, public services, and financial modernization while helping maintain confidence in the country's overall economic management. Although future conditions will always depend on changing global markets and domestic priorities, recent financial indicators suggest that Iraq has maintained a more stable budgetary position than during some earlier periods of economic uncertainty. It is also worth recognizing that meaningful national reforms rarely occur overnight. Countries implementing significant financial modernization typically move through multiple stages involving legislation, regulatory changes, institutional adjustments, and practical implementation. Iraq's current path reflects many of these gradual processes. Each completed reform becomes one part of a larger effort aimed at creating a stronger and more transparent financial system. Rather than focusing on isolated announcements, many economists evaluate long-term progress by observing whether these reforms continue steadily over months and years. Because discussions surrounding the Iraqi dinar often generate intense online interest, distinguishing confirmed information from speculation remains especially important. Official reports can verify developments such as banking reforms, reserve levels, fiscal policies, and international cooperation. However, many claims circulating on social media extend well beyond available evidence. Assertions regarding specific future rates, exact timelines, or guaranteed monetary outcomes should be approached carefully unless supported by official announcements from recognized institutions. Responsible analysis acknowledges the difference between verified facts and personal interpretation, allowing viewers to make informed assessments based on credible information rather than rumors. Looking at the broader picture, several documented developments are occurring simultaneously. Iraq continues strengthening banking oversight, improving regulatory compliance, maintaining substantial foreign currency reserves, and advancing institutional reforms while working alongside international financial organizations. Individually, each of these developments represents progress within a specific area of the economy. Collectively, they illustrate a broader strategy focused on modernization and financial stability. Understanding this wider context helps explain why recent policy actions have attracted attention among observers who closely follow Iraq's economic transformation without requiring assumptions beyond the available evidence. Another reason these developments are receiving attention is that they demonstrate continuity rather than isolated decision-making. Instead of introducing abrupt policy shifts, Iraqi authorities have largely pursued a series of coordinated measures aimed at strengthening different parts of the financial system over time. This consistency is significant because stable reform programs often depend on sustained implementation rather than short initiatives. By continuing efforts across banking regulation, monetary management, fiscal planning, and institutional modernization, Iraq is gradually building a more comprehensive financial framework designed to support long-term economic objectives. Ultimately, the available evidence points toward an ongoing process of economic and financial reform rather than a single defining event. Stable monetary management, continued reserve accumulation, stronger banking supervision, international engagement, and ongoing government reforms all represent documented developments that can be observed through official sources. While these factors contribute to understanding Iraq's current financial environment, they should be viewed within the broader context of long-term institutional change. Careful observation of official announcements and verified economic data remains the most reliable approach related to Iraq's economy and the Iraqi dinar. As Iraq's financial reforms continue to progress, it becomes increasingly important to evaluate developments through documented evidence rather than assumptions. The country's economic transformation involves many interconnected pieces, including banking modernization, fiscal management, regulatory oversight, and monetary policy. Each of these areas influences the broader financial landscape, but none should be viewed in isolation. Understanding how these components work together provides a more balanced perspective on Iraq's current position. Rather than focusing on dramatic headlines, examining official actions over time offers a clearer picture of how the country's institutions are gradually strengthening. One of the strongest indicators of this long-term approach is the Central Bank of Iraq's continued emphasis on monetary stability. Instead of responding impulsively to short-term market pressures, the bank has consistently prioritized maintaining orderly financial conditions. This includes carefully managing liquidity, supervising financial institutions, and supporting confidence in the banking system. Central banks around the world typically follow similar principles because stable monetary conditions encourage economic planning and reduce uncertainty. Iraq's recent actions suggest that policymakers remain focused on creating a predictable financial environment while broader reforms continue to take shape. Another noteworthy development is the increasing emphasis on formal financial channels. Authorities have encouraged individuals and businesses to conduct transactions through licensed banks and regulated financial institutions rather than relying on informal markets. Expanding the role of the formal banking sector can improve transparency, strengthen financial reporting, and enhance regulatory oversight. These improvements also help align Iraq's financial system with internationally accepted banking practices, supporting greater confidence among domestic institutions and international partners alike. Such modernization represents an ongoing process that extends well beyond any single policy announcement. Economic diversification also remains an important topic in discussions about Iraq's future. Although oil continues to generate the majority of government revenue, policymakers have repeatedly emphasized the importance of developing additional sectors of the economy. Expanding industries such as agriculture, manufacturing, technology, transportation, and tourism can reduce dependence on energy markets over time. A more diversified economy is generally considered more resilient because it is less vulnerable to fluctuations in global commodity prices. While diversification requires sustained investment and long-term planning, it remains an important objective within Iraq's broader economic reform agenda. Observers have also noted improvements in Iraq's efforts to strengthen relationships with regional and international partners. Economic cooperation, trade agreements, infrastructure initiatives, and financial collaboration all contribute to expanding Iraq's role within the global economy. Stronger international partnerships can support investment opportunities, encourage technology transfer, and facilitate economic development. Continued engagement with international financial organizations further reflects Iraq's willingness to adopt recognized standards that promote transparency, accountability, and sustainable growth within its financial institutions. At the same time, it is essential to recognize that economic reform is rarely a straight path. Every country implementing structural changes faces challenges, including political debates, administrative adjustments, changing market conditions, and global economic uncertainty. Iraq is no exception. Progress often occurs gradually, with reforms being introduced, evaluated, refined, and expanded over extended periods. Viewing individual developments within this broader context helps explain why many policy initiatives unfold by step rather than through immediate transformation. Institutional change is typically measured over years, not days or weeks. One of the most important distinctions viewers should keep in mind is the difference between confirmed information and speculation. Official announcements can verify actions such as banking reforms, reserve management, regulatory updates, and government policy decisions. However, claims that assign exact dates, guaranteed outcomes, or predetermined exchange rates without official confirmation should always be approached carefully. Financial markets are influenced by numerous economic variables, and responsible reporting requires separating documented facts from personal opinions or unsupported forecasts. Maintaining this distinction helps ensure discussions remain accurate and balanced. When examining Iraq's recent progress, several facts are clearly supported by public information. The central bank continues implementing financial reforms. Banking oversight has become more comprehensive. Regulatory compliance standards have been strengthened. Foreign currency reserves remain an important component of monetary stability. International institutions continue working Iraq on economic modernization. Government reform programs remain active despite ongoing challenges. Together, these developments provide measurable evidence that Iraq continues pursuing institutional improvements designed to fit its financial system over the long term. It is equally important to understand what these verified developments do not automatically indicate. They do not confirm any specific future exchange rate, they do not establish a timeline for potential monetary policy decisions, and they do not guarantee particular outcomes. Those decisions remain within the authority of Iraq's financial institutions and depend upon a wide range of domestic and international economic factors. Presenting possibilities as certainty would not accurately reflect the available evidence. Responsible analysis focuses on observable facts while acknowledging where uncertainty remains. Looking ahead, continued monitoring of official communications will remain essential for anyone interested in Iraq's economic progress. Updates released by the Central Bank of Iraq, government ministries, and recognized international financial organizations provide the most reliable information regarding ongoing reforms. As additional policy decisions are announced, they can be evaluated within the broader framework of Iraq's long-term modernization efforts. Observing developments through credible sources, rather than relying on rumors, allows viewers to develop a more complete understanding of the country's evolving financial landscape. That brings us to the conclusion of today's analysis. Iraq's recent actions highlight a continued commitment to strengthening its financial institutions through banking modernization, regulatory improvements, stable monetary management, and cooperation with international partners. These are documented developments that illustrate a long-term reform process rather than a single defining event. As always, the most valuable approach is to remain informed, follow official sources, and evaluate new information with patience and objectivity. Thank you for spending your time with us today on Global Monetary Watch. We appreciate your support and your interest in factual, balanced coverage of Iraq's economic developments. Subscribe to Global Monetary Watch and press the bell icon so you never miss our latest Iraqi Dinar updates.